All right, greetings. Okay, could you please state your name and your degree?
Mary M. White. I have a degree in business education.
All right, where did you complete your undergraduate and graduate degrees?
Undergraduate, Alcorn State University. Master's, Jackson State University. And doctorate, Northern Illinois University.
Oh, so you got both your undergrad and your graduate degree at two HBCUs.
I did, and I'm very proud of that.
Okay, that's wonderful. Like, not a lot of people think that getting such degrees, like graduate degrees at HBCUs, don't really like they're really accepted and everything.
Very much accepted. I had a high school teacher that told me that she wanted me to be a business teacher. And at the time when I came out of high school, the only university that was offering a business degree that was a HBCU was Alcorn State University. And later on, I moved to Jackson, and I was able to continue working on my business degree because I really wanted to be a business teacher. And the only way I could do that was to get my master's degree. So at that time, Jackson State had a master's degree in business education, and I was very happy to be able to continue my education here.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right, can you remember taking research at during your undergrad time?
Absolutely. Well, I just love research. My first job was institutional research, and it was here at Jackson State. And so it was like just a general progression. And of course, I enrolled in my first graduate course in research, and I ended up doing a thesis. And I studied staff training needs here at Jackson State University. So the combination of being in institutional research and taking the research class was just invaluable for me.
All right, could you remember the topic of your dissertation?
I remember I investigated the learning styles of students in post-secondary education with a focus on self-concept.
Oh, okay. Was your topic what type of research did you conduct for it? Was it like qualitative or quantitative research?
Mine was a combination of qualitative and quantitative. And I used the students in the community college as my subjects, but I did do a basic pilot study before I conducted my actual study, mainly because I was very concerned that when I was teaching the students here at Jackson State University, I was teaching them using computers, and the older students were very afraid of the computers. And I was very concerned about their fear of the computer and how would they learn. And so the main thing that I had to look at in terms of the controls that I had was focus on what maybe were predictors of their performance. And so we looked at a learning style instrument, and this was the Canfield learning style instrument. And then we used one indicator of performance, which was the grade, final grade in the course, or their GPA general and their GPA, and we also used the ROTR locus of control instrument to study their self-concept.
Okay, so what do you think is better, qualitative or quantitative research?
Well, research indicates the quantitative is the best indicator of real research. However, when I got a chance to interview the students and to talk to them generally about some of the measures of self-concept, to me that was real. And then I was able to have the test that I used to use as indicators to kind of back up what they were saying. So to me, it was like the best of both worlds because it was like rich research, both in like eye to eye, person to person, and then trying to use those constructs that were, I can use those today. And I was even able to take 2 advanced research courses at Northern Illinois University, and so that basically helped me to work with great researchers to say, hey, I think this would be another positive aspect of the research that you can do, because that will carry you throughout your educational experience, and that's what has happened. I was able to do the research, and so I'm very passionate about learning, about how students learn. I can work with them based on the research that I gather, and then the results that I was able to find based on my research.
You know, some at some schools, like, you know, in undergrad they'll do qualitative research, and graduate they'll do quantitative. Do you think there's like there's like a big difference between the two for graduate and undergrad?
Well, I think it's a difference. Let's just say if you're using a scale where someone else has already done research in an area for years and years, then it's just simple. You can just use their instrument when you're looking in terms of a guide for you based on what it is that you're trying to do. Qualitative research is, those measures are, you know, you have a lot of people, you know, on one extreme that say, in many business schools, you will find that there's very little qualitative research. And mainly because of the constructs that we're using, because you're looking at business decision making. However, in some cases where they're able to go out and interview some clientele, it kind of adds the richness of it. But for the most part, you do that. In the educational arena, you have a combination of both. In many cases, you find that they only do the qualitative research. And so because they're teachers, future teachers, and they're talking about what are the needs of those future teachers. But when you talk in terms of those, when you're going to report out and what a significance your research will be to other students who are coming along, then you're going to basically find that when you're doing journal articles or you want to try to submit your research, then they're actually looking for that quantitative research. They're looking for numbers. They're looking for, you know, like what did you find based on, you know, your numbers? You know, what were you able to, you know, like, you know, say, but this was important because you were looking at this theoretical approach versus the other one. Then what did you actually find, and how significant is it to the future? You know, what would your research mean to those who are coming later and basically are interested in the same subject, and how valuable was it? So, you know, it's like, you know, it's going to be different opinions in both ways.
Okay, cool. How important do you think it is for undergraduates to complete a course in research methods?
I think it's according to perhaps where they are in their maturity level. For example, if let's just say yes, in many ways, I think it's very important to introduce the research, because of the serious nature of, okay, what are you going to do to, you know, make a difference in the world? And many times it's based on research, you know, research findings. And so I would recommend it not be any lower than at senior level, mainly because that maturity for the research getting involved, and that means that when you get involved in research, you got to be able to kind of spend the time. You got to be able to get serious about what it is you're trying to do, and you're trying to make sure that it makes an impact. And you need to have like a theoretical framework, you know, based on this theory or that theory. Or, you know, when you talk about Maslow in education, you talk about learning. And, you know, and so we've studied Maslow. It doesn't matter. You do it until the end. You're going to always come back to those concepts, and that doesn't change. Even with the number of years I've been in education, it hasn't changed. We still go back to those proven theories, and it's based on research.
Okay, cool. All right, why do you think students shy away so much from conducting or being involved in active research?
Well, I think they shy away from it because who's teaching them to run to it? Most of the time in our classes, we're kind of prone to do the things that were done before us, so we use the patterns that teachers use with us. And so active, to me, research is like, let's just say I'm working in entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship education, and so we're here on Lynch Street. And let's just say we want to try to find out, well, how many different type cars do people drive? So active research would be getting a group of students in your class and having them go to every corner and count the number of cars that come along in a given day. And so that's active research, and then reporting out. And sometimes they use similar kinds of things, like you'd have students standing in the doorways of a building, and let's just say they're coming from the parking lot entrance versus the regular street entrance. And so you may have about, hey, can I stop you for a moment? I have only 5 questions I need you to answer. And that's active research, because all you're doing is, like stopping someone to ask. Now, why am I saying this? It's because I participated in some of those kinds of activities when I was in graduate school, when I was in undergraduate school. And so it was like, a lot of it is a focus on the training of the faculty member, or how much focus they're putting on the value of research. And someone would just go, just choose not to do that, unless it's a provision that you're given as a faculty member, say, hey, you are expected to engage in teaching, research, and service. And then many times we're asked as a means of evaluation is, well, how many students did you involve in your research? How did you get them involved? And so then the faculty member proudly is able to, indicate, hey, yeah, I did this, versus one who may not be able to do that because maybe they are focused on more or less the research that's not active, that quantitative research. And so those are the kinds of things that you do.
All right. So, what are some areas in whatever their discipline that you, what are some areas that in your field that you're currently working on now regarding to research?
Well, I'm interested in social entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. And I recently received a certificate in social entrepreneurship, and I was chosen by the United States Association for Small Business and Entrepreneurship to be one of 17 of the first persons to get the social entrepreneurship certificate. And part of that opportunity required me to go to different schools, the Stern School of Business in New York, business school in San Francisco, another business school in Kansas City. And there was a cohort of 17 of us, so we had to be actively involved in research. And it took us a year to get that certification. And the great thing about that was we all had to develop a new course in social entrepreneurship. It had to have all the dimensions of any course. And that means that we really had to look at 20 schools, at least 20 schools, and look at their curriculums in social entrepreneurship. It wasn't that it was new, it's just this was the first effort that someone pulled together a program to make sure that at least 17 people are certified and get certificates of achievement in that area. And of course, the program is still ongoing now. And we get a chance to meet those individuals, but it's research driven. And that's been the value added because it is research driven. You just don't go and say, I'm going to teach this new course. And you don't go and do some research related information to see like, okay, well, what are the needs of the people who are going to be taking the course? And those are going to be our students who are future entrepreneurs, who are looking at social problems that plague our communities. So what are those social problems? You're going to have homelessness. You're going to have dilapidated buildings. You're going to have people who are not, like homeless, who may be in these buildings. You may just have no longer where it used to be a thriving neighborhood. Now it's like become a slum. So you have the social problems that go along with that because you got homelessness, you have high rates of abuse, you have lots of, in many cases you may have like young ladies who are on welfare and things like that, versus a thriving community where you don't have those kinds of things. So, and the other focus is on, with social entrepreneurship, it means that in terms of looking at your research, those are entrepreneurs who are needed to work at those centers where they don't really have, the people in the community don't have an outlet. They don't know where to go, but they can have small businesses in those areas that deal with the social, the needs of people there.
Okay, so what are your suggestions for building researchers?
Well, I think building researchers is that you just have to start somewhere. I think building researchers kind of starts like when people are young, and you send them to the book, you send them to the encyclopedia. You know, like we've gotten away from the encyclopedias now, but when I was coming along, every home had to have an encyclopedia. And so you went in and you read things and things like that. But I think it kind of starts like in the grade schools where you have, there's a problem that needs to be solved. That's the reason that you have research. You know, like identify a problem that you think needs to be solved. So what are some of we have so many problems that need to be solved. In Jackson, Mississippi, we have the potholes. Apparently, we're not doing enough research because we're not getting them done fast enough. However, people will have opinions, but they're not research-based. The other thing is you got to go to every level within our systems. And not only that, the research has to permeate as it's like when I went to India, and I saw those students. We went there we had a project over there where we had gotten funded, and those young people were into this research on entrepreneurship. But we had a program there for women entrepreneurs, and so it's like the things that they start and they know about, even when they get to be sixth grade. And so that was just phenomenal to me. It's like, okay, they are ready for us. And so what we have to do is come back and bring that excitement back to our classrooms. And then we go out to the various schools and talk to them more about getting involved, get it out of these buildings, and go and talk to our potential customer, which is a student at a lower grade level, and talk to them about the importance of kind of jump starting this thing, this excitement about entrepreneurship. And it's like creativity. You don't get innovation and creativity unless you do research. That's just the bottom line. You don't do it, and you got to get young people excited about doing these kinds of things. So, yeah, I think that's the least that we can do.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. White. I appreciate your time and effort for this. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're most welcome.